So after 40 hours of self-studying physics, this was what I was able to learn. It all began with a cup of coffee. So what exactly happened? I had an expectation that I was going to do all 40 hours my first week. I was like, I can do 8 hours a day, I'll be done by 5 days, and once the weekend comes, I'm gonna upload my first vlog post. Today, it's been 3 weeks later. I started out in the variational principles of classical mechanics textbook, and I realized that there was several concepts that I didn't understand yet. I was basically expecting myself to have a pretty good understanding of linear momentum, rotations, and angular momentum. I quickly caught how naive this expectation was, so I decided to go back and try to understand these concepts much better. I went to the university physics textbook and I began to study linear momentum. And there I learned linear momentum concepts such as the impulse momentum theorem, conservation of momentum, and center of mass. I ran into some difficulties with trying to understand conservation of momentum because I didn't exactly understand why certain external forces, such as friction and gravity, could be neglected. I found an explanation on StackExchange that I will link in the description below. The explanation describes one billiard ball falling onto another billiard ball, both of equal mass. This is also similar to two objects of the same mass colliding on a surface. And what that means is even though there's gravity and frictional forces in that system, there's a part of that system that we can find conservation of momentum, such that these frictional forces or gravitational forces are extremely small and negligible. In week 2, I learned about fixed axis rotations involving concepts of torque, Newton's second law for rotations, rotational variables, and it was pretty much a really large chapter. I can't say that I'm at the level where I can completely explain what goes on in this chapter, but what I really liked was I got exposed to moment of inertia, and then in a later section we see how moment of inertia plays a role in kinetic energy when an object is rotating. In week 3, I learned about angular momentum, which is pretty much any object that was spinning or rolling. I actually sped through this chapter even more than the chapter on fixed axis rotations. While I was learning about angular momentum, I learned about the conservation of angular momentum, and one example that was really cool was an example about an ice skater and how if they were spinning with their arms out or their legs out, and if they were to close their arms or to bring their legs in, that they would actually spin faster. And the reason behind that is because it's connected to moment of inertia. They're basically making the radius smaller, and having a decrease in their radius means that they'll have a decrease in moment of inertia, which means that they'll have an increase of angular velocity due to conservation of momentum. Moving forward, I plan to solidify my understanding by reviewing and just doing more problems. And right now, I'm not planning to look at any new chapters because there's a lot to digest. Well, thank you for watching, and for those out there learning, happy studies.